back to the Vision Train. Here we are, Saturday, February 11th, 2023, with Amanda Sage and Mark Henson, and many of our friends here on the Vision Train have a little chat with you about their upcoming seminar next month in San Francisco. Our first in-person seminar since we started the Vision Train and Future Academy. Welcome, everyone.
Yay! This is an exciting moment, and it feels very surreal, to be honest, to be, doing this. Also, considering that we're here on the Vision Train, International Creative Space Station, with our friends from all over the world, and already knowing that many of you will not be able to come because of the vast distances. But at the same time, I want to let you know we have some things up our sleeves of how we're going to be able to include you. So to bridge these worlds. So yeah, Mark, so grateful that you are with us. You've been on the train since the beginning and long before most of us were even born.
Oh, yeah. Well, yeah, I guess I'm probably the oldest person here.
But you're so young at heart, and your legacy and what you've created has inspired so many of us for much of our lives. And I feel that it's more relevant than ever now. And to support you in creating a workshop scenario setting with this crew is kind of like a highlight for me. And it's what really motivated me to get back into teaching in person again. And so I'm excited for that. And just like anything that we got to get those gears rolling. We haven't done this in a while, teaching in person. And but it's exciting. I'm really looking forward to this.
Well, it should be real interesting. We're going to try to bridge a lot of worlds here and share a lot of knowledge from old times and new times both. We're going to discuss our old school ways of doing things, and we're going to branch out into the new ways of doing stuff and try to bring them all together, since that's what we're going to have to live with here for up in the future. We're going to be embracing all the technologies, yet trying to live as nature intended. It's going to be a challenge, but I think we're up to it. And so our seminar is that's our theme for our seminar. How do we live in a technological world in a natural way? It's an interesting thought, because as humans, we are a natural being. The creator made us. Mother Nature, cooked us up. And yet in our little minds, we can create all these crazy things, from, computers and televisions and new forms of music to atomic bombs and weapons of mass destruction. So are these things part of nature as well? Well, perhaps they are. Maybe nature intends for us to commit suicide. Maybe nature intends for us to go to outer space and colonize the universe. I'm not sure. It's part of the grand experiment that the mother creates for us, and we're just a little bit of it. And so where's our place in all of this grand scheme of things? Well, that's what we're going to explore.
Yeah, so exciting. I feel that this theme is something that is really resonant for me, and has been for many years, is this bridge between the world that we've created, or that we've inherited in many ways, which was thought, I guess, by our ancestors to be a good idea, or at least by some. And so here we are, and I find myself kind of bridging, deep mountain kind of life, and then also urban life in Los Angeles, and and kind of questioning humanity and our choices, and how are we going to get ourselves out of this mess. Um, and well, maybe we're not. And how do we still find goodness in it and not totally give up? And so art is in many ways is this medium to kind of like explore that. And also, I think the role of the artist, this is something we've talked about quite a bit, of being, we talked about this yesterday. We did an Instagram conversation uh, about how the role of the artist is to kind of um, uh, dream up images or potentials, ideas of what it could look like.
Yeah, as creative beings, it's incumbent upon us to not give up and to try to see through the fog of reality to what the future could possibly hold, and try to put that into some sort of a form that others can understand, and whether it's by seeing it visually in a form of art, or hearing it in the words of a song, or seeing it created before their very eyes by someone who's building something. It's how do we manifest the reality we'd like to see? We have to start somewhere, and visual arts is one of the ways we do that, because it's instantly communicable. You come up with a vision, you present it in some form, and everyone else usually can get your idea right away. It communicates instantly. And so that's the power of being able to come up with these things and share them. Everybody can understand quickly, and as right now we're sharing our thoughts all around the world on the train. It's unprecedented, really. So we're using this technology at this very moment to manifest our ideas out to the world. We're in the process at this very time. As we speak, the magic is going on.
Well, it's also like the thing that came up as you were talking for me is about perfection too, and considering like, well, we have to like have the idea formulated before we then go and create it or draw it out. And I found that, and many times my process has been to hold like an intention, or kind of like have a prayer or a direction kind of like in my heart, and then to allow it to empty, and then go to the canvas. And somehow there's something that's a different way, I think, of approaching it, but there's always something there, and there's something willing to collaborate with us if we are willing as well. Like, it's not we're not alone. And I think that's something that stops so many people from even picking up a brush a lot of times, because they think they need to have the idea before all figured out, or they need to have life all figured out before they can all even start. But many times it's just through that motion of getting something started that the rest will be revealed. Do you find that happens to you?
Absolutely. Our little pea brains are too small to get the big picture all at once. And what I find a lot of times is, well, we all have sketchbooks, and our random thoughts are running through our minds, and we're sort of conceptualizing at what it is we want to see, and somewhere in our mind we know what it is, but it's kind of like you'll know it when you see it. So you doodle around in your sketchbook, and eventually something sort of rises to the surface of all the scribbles that is what it is you're looking for. And then, hopefully you notice it and then can refine the idea and work it out. And that eventually makes its way to becoming a finished work of art, if we're lucky.
Right.
So I always do try to plan my pictures out a lot and think about what I'm doing and try to have an idea of what I'm doing, but it always changes every time. and or combines things, recombine and remix. In my sketchbook, I might get one idea one day and one idea another, and neither of them are quite it. And then on a third day, I'm doodling around and they blend together in a harmonious way, and there it is.
Right.
And
There
even
it is.
when I'm working on the finished piece, there's always an element of that is occurring as I'm working. There's somehow things change and shift, and being aware that that's how it works, I think, helps to make that happen in a more flowing kind of a way, without a lot of resistance.
Totally.
Yeah.
So, for those that are tuning in and are like, what are you guys talking about? What's going on here? So, next month, we are going to be teaching an in-person class in San Francisco in March 9th through 13th in Mark Henson's beautiful exhibit of like over 25 original works, large scale, many of them in a private gallery in San Francisco. And it's going to be a once in a lifetime opportunity in many ways to be in this environment, in this scenario. And yeah, so we have registration open. You have to apply first to be able to join us, but we would love to welcome you into this special container. And for everybody that's international, tuning in from, other places, not able to, or even in the US, but not able to join us, um, we will be filming like the majority of this class, and with the aim to have another online seminar at a later date, uh, with both Mark and I available to support. And we'll be hopefully streaming some of the lectures live. We haven't quite figured all of these details out, but this is some of the intentions that we have. Remember, a lot of the last 3 years has been about trying things out for the first time and just throwing ourselves into it. But I guess that's life too. Um, we really do intend to include our international family as much as possible. And so, yeah, there's links available. If you go to vitra.academy, you'll find it right there on the front page. And yeah, following either Mark or I or the Vision Train or Vitra Academy will get you to more information. Just that little plug there to make sure y'all know what we're talking about. And wondering if Alicia, do you have any questions for us? Because we talked a little bit before, and Alicia's going to be coming with us and will be leading
Oh,
us.
wonderful.
She'll be leading a lot of the filming and supporting us in coordinating this bridge between the virtual world and the in-person world, and which is absolutely necessary. And really
Yeah,
excited. Yeah.
I'm super jazzed on this too, because after years of working and studying at the Vienna Academy of Visionary Art, this feels like, and then after they were forced to close at the beginning of the pandemic, I think there's so many of us have longed for the return to that shared studio space. So I think that like my heart is it really feels alive at the idea of us coming back together in person in the creative space station, and as this kind of extension of the creative space station that is the Vision Train. Our first time really having something officially in that capacity in person again feels really good. It feels like we've come through something and are able to open back up and like welcome one another back into these spaces. And I'm also really interested to see how we'll flirt with these meta experiences of having a group of students in person and also inviting those that are out in the rest of the world into the space to be able to learn with us and engage a little bit too. And so we're kind of embarking on a new frontier in that way, which is super exciting. And also the subject matter, the focus of this seminar is something that's near and dear to my heart as well. I studied environmental science and artivism. Activism through art is something I feel is one of the most important, important roles as that we can embody as artists and also encourage in one another. And so, yeah, I think that this is an incredible marriage of a lot of things that many of us are passionate about, and really important works of art, not only for the individual artists I think will be created at this seminar, but for the world at large too. We learn so much through the visual storytelling, and I think Mark Henson is one of the real pioneers of environmental artivism that I've looked up to for a long time. And both of you, Amanda and Mark, also create these epic storytelling, this epic storytelling within their artwork. And so to have the opportunity for, I mean, not only just myself to come, I'm excited for myself, but for anyone to be able to come and share these days with the two of you in, in the name of education and mentorship and supporting one another and expressing their hearts' messages, I think is priceless. So super jazzed on this. And I thought maybe you guys could talk about the idea that we can create artworks that explore our future lives, right? Creating artwork that depicts a world that we want to live in is a really steep, there's a lot of implications in that, and a lot of magic and manifestation that I think we're trying to call in through that. I wondered if both of you would be interested in just elaborating on, the magic of manifestation and what we're asking people to show, the capacity that we're asking people to show up and in this seminar.
Go ahead, Mark, if you want to go first.
Well, I guess you could call it, we want to try to manifest our utopian visions. And part of me is kind of a realist, and I don't know if, maybe it's too idealistic. Could we actually manage to live together in peace and harmony, or not? I like to think we can, and especially as they say that creativity frustrated turns to violence, and the people who are of violent nature, their inner artist has been crushed in some way. And so how do we build a world where everybody's inner artist is allowed to freely express themselves, and so that they can be their fulfill their creative potential? And I think that if we live in a place and create our society where that's possible, then we'll all get along much better and have a peaceful world. And there are some societies on the planet where they're more artistic, where arts are revered and everybody's free to express themselves, or where everybody's an artist in some way or another. And these places tend to be pleasant societies to live in. There's not very many of them, but they do exist. And I think that the idea could be expanded outwards to include everyone. We live in a really crazy time where, there's all kinds of bad things going on. But there's wars and fighting and disputes and arguing about all kinds of things. It's like, who's going to get to use the bathroom, and whether kids can learn true history or not. The things that get argued about seem kind of silly when you look at it in the light of what Mother Nature can hand out in the form of earthquakes and storms and the floods and natural disasters. These are the things that we really need to learn to face and not fuss and fight amongst ourselves over petty things so much. So how do we change our society so that we can improve upon our relations with each other and with nature? How do we figure out a way to respect and love each other and all of the creations? It's a big challenge. So in our own small way, each of us is wanting to be creative and share our unique visions of how this could possibly happen. And so we need to give it some serious thought and get our little brushes and sketchbooks together and try to manifest some ideas. And perhaps the best of these ideas we can actually try to put into practice in some way, how we build our homes, how we the kind of, how we eat and raise our food, and how we get around, and our form of energy, and how we're going to survive when this Mother Nature is going to continue to hand out, floods and storms and earthquakes. Those things just happen. There's not much we can do about it. So we're going to have to figure out ways to construct our world to be able to get through that stuff and not create our own disasters in the form of wars or violence and treating each other badly. So it's a challenge to us. And I'm not sure, if any of us have all the answers, but I think working together and sharing our ideas together, something will rise to the surface, as Amanda was saying, that with our ideas, given room and space for things to bubble up and appear. If we do that collectively, then perhaps we'll come together, culturally speaking, in a way that makes life bearable for everybody. So I'm part of me is kind of cynical about all these things. I've seen a lot of stuff in my time on the planet that, we had back in the 60s, we had a lot of ideals that we could change the world rather quickly and make a big shift happen. And we were successful to some degree, as the fact that we're all here today is a sign of that. But it wasn't enough. It wasn't quick enough, and we're on the edge of things are in a more precarious state right now. We could fall off the cliff easier than we could have back then, and our planet is facing with the climate change and global warming and the elimination of species of animals and plants. We're at the edge. And are we going to survive another century? Well, I don't know. So we have to figure it out in a hurry. And so that's a big motivator for us to get our creative selves busy and see what we can come up with.
Yeah, we're on the brink of so much social evolution globally at this time, but I think that this is one of the most important conversations that we could be having and exploring within our work as artists.
I think it's really easy to get overwhelmed with these subjects, and to get it to that space of feeling like the pressure of solving global issues and problems, and because everything's so connected now, like we see everything, so it's being pressed into our eyeballs. And I feel all the disasters and all the stuff, it's like, what could I do? What can this little person here do with what I have? And I feel like I feel that, and I'm quite certain a lot of other people feel that. But one thing that you said, Mark, around us, coming together and kind of like facing this together and seeing what each kind of what each one comes up with, we we kind of like strengthen and build a narrative that comes from each, is not dependent on just one of us. And that's totally true. I mean, that's what I see happen in the workshop environment. And, even if you don't say anything, like pretty quickly, there will be some themes that'll come through, uh, multiple people's work. And you'll be like, what's going on here? How did you, like, man, there's probably about half the room has a moon in it, you know, because it's about I mean, the full moon's about to arrive or something, or there's like, a bunch of owls or, uh, it's interesting.
Waves.
Waves.
Waves. We had a whole seminar that was a bunch of waves once.
That could be a manifestation of what they call the 100th monkey syndrome. I'm sure you all have heard of that. Where somehow there's a zeitgeist going on where we all somehow in the back of our minds subconsciously we all strike the same theme.
Right. And so it's like interesting with a theme like this is something that touches all of us. And so what's your puzzle piece? Like what where do you start? And it could be just like hands cultivating a seed. It's in the midst of of a city, of a concrete city. There's so many different kinds of images that come to mind, because in many ways we're we're being asked to remember a lot of things that have also been lost or were not valued by the pursuit and building of Western civilization. That the individual, in many ways, was partitioned off into one job or another to create more and more production, more and more production. And we've lost a lot of people have lost connection to things like farming, for an example, or even like healthy food preparation, just to keep ourselves, our bodies healthy. We've lost a lot of wisdom around that. So that our ancestors knew, that was vital. So I think, and I feel like the 60s, from what I've heard, or, what I've learned is that the 60s were, you guys were kind of like ringing those bells, like, guys, this is not the way. We can't lose this, all the intelligence that from, the indigenous people. And also, there's so much more to consciousness. There's so much more, like from the plant medicines, and there's just so many other ways. And I think the constriction of humanity, and the being so individualistic, we've been so programmed to be these individuals, and all the weight is on the individual, rather than really coming together and having a community, has really created this kind of like separation that is killing us in many ways. And so I think we're drawn to this, and a lot of times, like in the art world too, there people are programmed, artists and everyone programmed to the individual, and to compete. Everybody's competing against each other for the rights, for the sales and the galleries, and the to be seen. And I find that this community is a little bit different in that way, or at least my hope, that we're more encouraging and supportive, that we're building something greater than any one of us could create. And so in that way, it's like supporting each other to paint something that is more profound than you could even think up. I mean, I don't know how many times this has happened to all of you, but people have come to me and said, "Did you see this and this connection and that?" And I was like, "I didn't. No, I didn't. Not until you just told me." but that's the beauty of art in many ways, that others can interpret so much more in them. So, and we need the foundation though, of technique, you know, and like, where do you start and what's next? And uh, maybe you don't need to make something so articulate in the beginning. You can allow it to unfold, you know. And so this is what we're going to walk people through. We're going to each, Mark and I are each going to create a painting alongside everyone in this class, where we're going to start from the drawing and we're going to end with full blazing color. You know, and it's of course not going to have the amount of time that many of Mark's paintings take years, right? Same with mine.
Well, I don't know about yours, but I do spend a lot of hours
Yeah.
usually on when I do something, you know, big and complex, but not always. Sometimes it's very spontaneous. And
Yeah.
so I'm going to keep to that aspect of my creative abilities during the class. I'll be working fast. And it might not be the most perfect thing, but that's not really what it's all about. We're not looking for perfection. We're looking to figure out ways to manifest our ideas and share the ways to do that. And it's, you know, we'll be learning some different techniques and stuff. But it's more than just the technique. It's the intention. It's what we're trying to teach, intention, and how to manifest intention is one of the techniques, I guess, we're gonna be trying to share here. So
Yeah, I mean, I think what we're kind of talking about, the overview of what we're talking about is like painting more than pretty pictures. And that is something I think visionary art in general, the genre of visionary art is at the forefront of, you know, is in painting more than just pretty pictures, where there's a message and there's even going further than the message, there's a vision of the future, you know, that gives us, and like we often say here, artists create the signpost for the future, right? And just a few minutes ago, Abby Leela said something in the chat that I wanted to bring into this conversation as well. And she said, it appears to me that we have to pass through a lot of chaos yet. And art is a process of chaos to order. Maybe there's a parallel. And I think that that's exactly right, right? That the process of drawing in all this chaos and all of the things that we can see are are creating suffering in the world, which ultimately is, I think, in my opinion, from our separation from community living, right? So we're kind of feeding a lot of different, nurturing a lot of different aspects of conversation within this realm, you know, this offering that's then coming together in community and discussing issues that we feel passionate about, that we'd like to see change, and offering up solutions through the visual landposts, you know, the visual signposts for the future. So yeah, I think you're absolutely right, Abby Leela, that art is a process of chaos toward order. And in order for us to get to this, you know, our visions of utopia, we have to pass through that. And art is an incredible transformative vehicle to be able to do so, especially in community.
Well, and I think also
well,
the
hopefully,
artwork. Go ahead, Mark.
I was going to say, hopefully in our class, we will have a little bit of order. It won't be totally chaotic. There are, you know, part of the art making process is there are ways to do things, you know, which color do you mix with which color to make which color. There is some order, and hopefully we'll be able to provide a little bit of order so that everybody can organize their personal chaos into something tangible.
Yeah, totally. Well, I see the value too of this, of the pieces that are created, of what comes through. It's like there's energy that's going in, of this quest, of this intention, right? Of this desire to reveal. And in that, every brushstroke, there's something that is captured, right, in that image. And I believe that there's some kind of resonant factor that image then holds, no matter if it's then a sticker or it's a little print or something. And this is one of the things that I see in Abby's note here, that this artwork is also something that can help us through this time of chaos, to realize that there are ways. There's a little light shimmering through the darkness. There's potential. And the thing is to just focus on a time beyond this time that is everything's going to be all right, is also a bit of a trap, I think, because finding also the light and the beauty in this present moment, in the absolute chaos of what life, the existence that we are experiencing, is also a huge gift, right? Because all we have is right now. I mean, we are moving towards something, and every little decision we make does help define that. But right now, we are where we are, and there is nothing else, right? So where is the beauty in this present moment? And so to me, that is like that's what art can help us do. Art can help us, become present and remember that it is right here. The magic is alive right now. And we forget that a lot.
Well, we don't want to forget that there's a certain beauty in chaos also. Any abstract painter can illustrate that for you perfectly. That sometimes just in going crazy and seeing what happens, that somehow there's an inherent beauty in that too. So how do we find that, and maybe channel it a little bit in a direction we find to be positive is going to be hopefully one of the techniques we get to explore. How do you do that? How do you notice what's what, and make it into something that's a little more what's what?
Yeah, so we'll have 3 full studio days together, but there's going to be an evening before that and a morning after that. So we'll actually have 5 calendar days that we'll be meeting together. I thought it would be nice if we just sort of walked through a little bit of the overview of what that the order will be to the class. So we've planned for that first Thursday, right? Thursday the 9th, we'll come in and have a gathering in the evening, right? And have a little orientation, introduction, lecture, right? And I think there will probably be like a prompt that evening that everybody will get to go home with their sketchbooks and loaded with all the juice from that discussion that happens that night, and really start planning their drawings for the painting. And the next day we'll move into technical application, right?
Yeah, so the first day is gonna be focused on the first part of the day, focused on drawing, and Mark is going to share some approaches to perspective. Right, Mark?
Well, we need to, if we're gonna do the technological aspect of our theme, might require some actual technique of drawing stuff in certain ways that can be taught. So one of those things, if we're going to include any kind of cityscapes or buildings and stuff like that in our imagery, we're going to want to know about perspective. So I'm going to give a few little tricks and tools for quickly making perspective that's accurate. And we're going to talk a little bit about composition and form and color and the building blocks of a picture, so that people can have something to start out with, and to a way to figure out how it is they're going to actually put whatever it is they're thinking of onto the canvas surface in a way that has some energy and power and looks good to the eye, of course. So I'll be sharing some technical stuff. The first night, we'll be talking about art and activism, how art can foster cultural change. We'll show some examples, various artists of the world, what they're doing along these lines, from street art to architecture, and just to get everybody juiced up a little bit, so that when they go home that night, they can, in their dreams, be working on their little sketchbooks, so that in the morning when we start, all their ideas will be ready to manifest. And then we'll talk in the morning. We'll talk a little bit about drawing techniques and how to get your imagery on the canvas, get your canvas ready to start painting. And then Amanda will probably share a little bit about the miche technique and preparing colored grounds and getting the canvas blocked in. And we'll get going on the painting part.
Yeah,
as
and
the
we'll
day
kind of
progresses.
Go ahead.
As the day progresses, we'll be wandering around, talking with everybody individually to help them get their pictures prepared, and offering whatever hints we can and tips to help them get it going as quickly as possible, because we only have 3 days and we want to get as far along as possible.
Yeah, we're gonna weave in and out between demonstrations, like both of us demonstrating our approaches, and class time, and supporting everybody in class time. And we're going to Sunday evening have a tour, kind of open studio for friends and family and guests to come to see the work and see Mark show. And then we'll close out on Sunday with a closing circle, and kind of giving everybody insight in how they could continue to finish their works if they feel they want to keep working on them after. And also, yeah, Friday, Saturday evening, we'll also be having art jams, so people can just kind of continue going deeper into their work. That's what we find is some of the the golden moments are that integration of the evening sessions and painting seminars in the past. So it's going to be a good time. Probably make sure you get some good sleep before you show up.
Take your vitamins. Also, every day we'll be having, between our instructional times, there will be studio time where everybody has a chance to implement what was just demonstrated and what they just learned. And during those periods of time, Amanda and Mark will take turns going around and one-on-ones with all of the students. So not only, will there be plenty of time for you to be working on this within class and after class in the evenings, but you'll also have the opportunity of every day having one-on-ones with both Amanda and Mark, which is really next level.
Yeah, we'll see what happens. It'll be exciting.
And too, I think too, from my perspective, this is a really great course for someone that's a beginner, as well as someone that's advanced. So if you're new to painting, this is going to be a really incredible, fast, deep dive in the art of the technical application of indirect painting. But if this is something that you're already well established with, this is also a really incredible opportunity for you to then be able to take your visions to the next level within the space of, within the same, space as two incredibly inspiring visionaries that will be your mentors. So it'll really help take you, an advanced painter, even to the next level through through those 5 days of having just direct access to the both of you. So I think that this is a really, very juicy offering for no matter where somebody may be in their journey as an artist.
I always tell people like that are new and they're like, I don't know if I can do this. I was like, well, as long as you can leave your own personal judgments towards yourself at the door and just be an open sponge, then you'll be fine. And you just feel and you're open to giving your time fully to this in those days, you know? It's like people just often are so um judgmental towards themselves, and so they give up. Oh, there's a call coming in.
Yeah.
Those are sounds you don't hear often anymore. The landlines. Yeah, and that's what we're doing, right? Is bridging the worlds here. Bridging the worlds between
What?
the the life that some of us may know better than others, right? And then how we've seen changes happen within our local environments, the world at large, and how do we return in some ways to older, a way that things were, but while we're integrating new technologies and the world that has changed, it can't go back to the way that it once was. So how do we evolve through that into a new world that both integrates new technologies as well as embracing some of the ways of the past where the world was obviously healthier, the nature was healthier.
Well, I wonder, through this theme that we have, I've been thinking about also AI, as that has become more and more of a subject or tool, let's say tool,
Yeah.
that is being used in art and all kinds of things that I'm sure we're not even aware of yet. And the it's we I addressed this a little bit in my last seminar of regeneration as a way to uh, build ideas to collaborate with AI, even, which is something that I haven't explored a whole lot myself. I've dipped my toes in, but I've been watching and I'm curious to see how this tool can be a tool and not be something that is just a replacement, because I don't believe that it can fully replace the creativity coming through uh, any of us, but it could be a tool. So I'm curious about that also as a tool, and in general, what is it that we are giving the AI to as content to work with? And that is very important. And I think that perspective is important. Um, and so, what can come through you that is so authentically you, that could help inform uh, others, to continue to plus off of that, right? Because none of our ideas are completely original. I I think, I think we're mostly inspired by something that we saw once or we heard once, or I mean, just here on the Vision Train, this is in many ways inspired by stories and images that I saw as a child, that I was like, yeah, this sounds like a good idea. The peace train, I'm on board. Guys, pack your bags and bring your good friends too. Let's go. It seems like a good idea, and I know that it's not my idea. I know that it seems like a good idea, and I know that however it's going to come through me is going to be different than it's going to come through you. So, this is a great service that we can do, is by showing up and doing our part. And That's what we've been doing the past years on the train here, and we're going to keep doing. But the more we can also create things and opportunities for others to participate, it kind of builds a momentum that can maybe be a beacon of hope for others and bring some inspiration.
Choo choo. Yeah, that calls for a choo choo.
They say there's nothing new under the sun, and it's kind of true. All of us are building upon what has gone before, and our ancestors got us here, and we're going to get our descendants where they are. And culturally, it's the same way. We're using, we're our techniques and materials often they've been in use for 400 or 500 years or more, maybe thousands of years. We're using the same stuff. So we're adding to the toolbox all the time. So now we have some electronic toys and miniature brains that we can throw into the mix. So those things, we'll be building upon those too, but I don't think nothing's gonna ever replace human ingenuity, which is really good at borrowing from each other, which is what we do. I think it was Picasso or somebody said great artists, steal from each other. So that's kind of what it is. As long as we don't get into copyright lawsuits, I think we'll be fine.
Yeah. I mean, I'm curious, Mark. I have never asked you, I've never heard you speak to this, but I wonder, when you set off to bring a vision in to the canvas, do you know what it looks like beforehand? Have you worked out the drawing, or do you come into it with flow and see what evolves? And maybe it's a marriage of the two, but I'm wondering, like, what structure do you have in approaching bringing your visions in?
Well, usually I doodle around in my sketchbook or I have an idea I want to see happen, and doodle around in my sketchbook till I see some sort of visual representation that I like. And then I will try to refine it in a way that's compositionally interesting, where the dark and light shapes and forms, form an interesting visual, that's exciting, something exciting to the eye without actually the theme being so manifested. And then if I really like some of these things, I'll maybe make a more elaborate and kind of finished drawing. Since a lot of my pictures do take a long time, I don't want to have to go back and change a lot of stuff after I've started working. But one of the things I almost every time, as I'm making the picture and getting it in a more final shape and blocking out all my forms on the canvas and figuring things out, I see stuff I don't really like or I'm not quite happy with. So I do a lot of changing. And sometimes it might involve painting out an entire section, sometimes not. Like I said, I try to be as organized as possible, but I'm a big failure at that. and especially my various colors. I know a lot of artists work out their color scheme, whether they're going to be a complementary color scheme or analogous in the various, theories of color. A lot of artists know that stuff and work it out ahead of time. And I kind of go by intuition when I'm doing that. I just sort of, throw some color on there and see what looks right. And although I try to do those things, because I think it will keep me from having to go back and be redundant and do things over. But like I said, I'm a big failure at that in a way. And I always end up changing stuff around.
We all get ourselves into pickles, don't we?
And there have been times when I've had a picture that I considered finished, but there was something that just didn't quite sit right with me. And then maybe a couple of years later, I'm looking at it and whatever it was is glaringly obvious, and I'll go back and change it. So that's happened as well.
Yeah. I think those kinds of pickles are as frustrating as they can be, They're incredible learning opportunities, not only for us, like in our journey working through them, but for others to observe as well. a lot of us have like a wound around perfectionism and this expectation that like every brushstroke that we have is going to be this genius masterful thing, and sometimes those genius masterful things, they get painted over, and so it's such an exercise of honesty, and resilience, right? To push through this thing that maybe you're attached of, like, a certain element that you realize isn't working, and that's something that Amanda teaches a lot of too, is like, be honest. You got to be honest. And if it's not working, it's not working. And you have to be honest with the painting, listen to the painting,
Right.
what it's asking.
You look at your
Yeah.
piece and that hand there on that person. You spent hours and hours making it perfect, and so you don't really want to like lose all that time, but it just isn't quite right. And
Yeah.
finally, you go, "Oh, the heck with it!" and you paint it out and try again, and that's just part of it.
Yeah.
And it is, it's risky to try to do that, but sometimes you just got to do it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. It's
I
something
try to
that we
leave little. I try to leave room in my. I try to leave room in my pieces for improvisation too, as I'm working. Well, what's the shapes and forms going to be of those clouds in the background? Well, maybe I'll want to just kind of play around with the paint and see what happens. I like to leave a little room to play impromptu as well as I'm working.
Yeah, improvisation. It's an art, isn't it? I wonder if there's anybody here on the call with us or anybody that's out there in the live streams that may have any questions, that may be like stewing on some questions that they'd like to ask before we wrap it up for today. And maybe we could even explore a little bit of conversation around those. Again, our seminar next month is March 9th through the 13th in San Francisco, with both Amanda Sage and Mark Henson. And they will be leading us through the process of not only expressing our visions, but we'll be having this larger conversation about our role as artists today, exploring ideas of how to build our future lives and creating artwork that depicts a world where humans and all life can thrive, um, while creating technologies that foster a better life for all. Anybody out there have any questions? I'm going to check the streams real quick. Any last words that you both would like to share?
Yeah, come on out and we'll have some fun.
Mhm. Yeah.
I have a question. I was going to type it out and then it was too hard, so I thought I'll just unmute. I'm wondering if you can reveal the general area in San Francisco where it will be. I'm hoping to attend, and was just doing some research on Airbnbs, and just wondering which side of town you'll be on.
We're gonna be on the east side of San Francisco in the area known as Potrero Hill.
Okay.
And
Okay.
there's another little neighborhood a few blocks away called Dog Patch.
Okay. Thank you.
So it's a nice residential area. I'm not sure about the availability of Airbnbs around there, but there probably are some. It's a nice clean area. There's not, the stuff, the bad things San Francisco is notorious for are absent in this neighborhood. So it's a very nice, peaceful, quiet, and calm place. So if you can find a place nearby, you might even be able to find one within walking distance. It's a nice, walkable neighborhood, and on the sunny side of the city.
Thank you.
Awesome, Denise. It'd be so sweet to have you join us there. Yeah. Awesome.
Yeah, that excites me. We do have a question that came in, which I think is interesting and worth asking, and Lizzie Westwood says, "You are all artists, but I can't draw or paint. Yet I write poetry almost daily. Do you think poetry has the same kind of power as painting?" And my one word response is absolutely. And I think that the words that, if you're a wordsmith, that's an incredible tool. That's an incredibly powerful tool that one can have to communicate with the world. It helps influence us as visual artists too. So I think, yes, the written word and spoken word is one of the most powerful tools that we have.
I find that, well, Bob Dylan and Joni Mitchell are two of my favorite poets. And by listening to their words, I visualize all kinds of stuff. A lot of times I find inspiration for visual imagery in the lyrics of different songs. And songs, of course, are poetry set to music. So yes, I think that poetry is just as important and a very good way to visualize things.
Yeah, I agree. I think poetry is, I think of songwriting too, like that poetry is very much like akin to that, and how powerful that can be as the words help plant images into people's minds and can resonate very deeply. And I think we need artists expressing in every form, and whatever form is coming to you, you should explore that. And so I think that, yeah, some are called to explore many different mediums, and some are called to one. It depends on also the time in your life. But it's important, and even pairing it with other, with other artists in other forms can make its reach even broader. So I find maybe, pairing a visual with a poem or with music could help it also reach even further.
Well, some of you may find that your imagery shows up where somebody has taken it off your website or off your Instagram or somewhere and remixed it with some poetry and reposted it somewhere. This happens quite a lot, actually. Or where, you might find in your mailbox one of your pictures with somebody's poem attached that they're sharing with you. That's happened to me many times. And it's always interesting to see what kind of words you've inspired someone to come up with. And it works the other way too, of course, I'm sure.
Awesome. Well, beautiful conversation today, you guys. Thanks for your time and your generosity of sharing yourselves with us and chatting about this seminar. Thanks to everybody that's here today in the Vision Train, on the Vision Train call here, everybody that's out watching the live streams, and those that are watching the replay of the stream in the future. Wherever, whenever you are, we're super glad to have you be a part of this conversation, and hope that what we're exploring here also touches you and influences you in the decisions that you make as you go out into the world today, and different ways that you may choose to express yourself creatively. I think it's also worth bringing back up something that Mark said at the very beginning, which was creativity frustrated turns violent. And so I think that it begs to be repeated, the importance of our creative expression and our support of one another within community and expressing ourselves, and the great impact that that can have on the world, our own individual lives and the world at large. So can't wait for the seminar next month in San Francisco, March 9th through the 13th. And if anybody out there that's watching has any questions, or just wants to chat about it, you can reach out to us at info@vitra.academy. And you can also check out our website, www.vitra.academy, for full details on the seminar, pricing, and what the offering in full will be looking like. So again, thank you so much, Amanda Sage. Thank you so much, Mark Henson. It's truly an honor to have this conversation with you and to be working together in this very important seminar, our first one in 3 years. So this is a big one.
Yay! Looking forward to
Yay.
this.
Yep. Thank you, everybody. It's been a most interesting morning, afternoon, evening, however it is, wherever you are.
Yeah.
Awesome. You guys have a great day wherever you are. We will be seeing you soon. Take care.
All right. On the train.
Choo-choo.
All right.